I hereby call to order this regular meeting of the Board of Education for Wilmette Public Schools District 39. This Monday, June 9th, 2025. The time is 7:01 p.m. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Ann Hart.
Here.
Judy Berlin.
Here.
Aaron Stone.
Here.
Kristen DeCastro.
Here.
Allison Pavlis.
Here.
Amy Paling.
Here.
Katie Hilton.
Here. Thank you. We will now turn it over to Katie Lee for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I can make a quick introduction of Katie Lee if I could, please. Just so that those listening know who Katie Lee is, and then she can share her piece. This evening, we have a very special honoree who will lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance, our very own Katie Lee. As many of you know, Katie Lee is retiring at the end of this month after 33 magnificent years of service in District 39. Katie's story is one of unwavering commitment and passion. Right out of college, Katie began her career with us as a young teacher. Over the decades, she grew and thrived, taking on roles that included teaching 5th and 2nd grade at Ramona, 5th grade at Highcrest, accelerated math at Highcrest, serving as our differentiation specialist at Highcrest and at Wilmette Junior High, and as a curriculum coordinator for many years before ultimately taking over the lead role in our curriculum and instruction department, a position where she has served with great distinction for the past 9 years. Katie's entire professional career has been devoted to the students, staff, teachers, and families of this district. Some people strive to leave their mark on the world around them, but Katie has been humbly driven to support the success of each and every student and teacher lucky enough to be in her presence. Along the way, she has left a legacy of unwavering commitment to educational excellence and growth, one that has shaped our schools, our community, and the many, many lives she has touched throughout her time here. Katie is more than just a colleague. She is a dear friend to many of us. Her infectious laugh and warm spirit have touched countless lives. Katie is considered our district historian, our district's architect of teaching and learning, and by many, the heart of our District 39 family. Katie's hard work, her passion for service, and her commitment to true collaboration have always been her trademark, and she's an inspiration to us all. Katie's hard work has quite literally sculpted teaching and learning in District 39 into what it is today. This is Katie's final board meeting of her long and incredibly meaningful and impactful career. And so we are honored to have her lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and be recognized at the conclusion of this meeting.
Thank you. So I thought, I have a presentation later this evening. I'm going to try to keep it together. I really appreciate that. Thank you. And if I could say a few words before I lead us into the pledge. I'm going to read this because I was trying to make sure that I'm composed for later on in this evening. So to the Board of Education and the entire District 39 community. Last Thursday, June 5th, our 8th grade students graduated, and everyone, parents, grandparents, siblings, board members, superintendent, administrators, teachers, and students themselves could not have been more excited for each of our graduates. The junior high administrators and Tony DeMonte prepared a wonderful ceremony. I truly enjoy attending graduations to lend a hand, either collecting tickets or handing out the programs. And this year, a parent, knowing that I am retiring, whispered happy graduation to you, Katie. I smiled and thought that's the perfect goodbye for me. I proudly consider myself a member of the class of 2025, although it took me much longer than to graduate. I am humbled and honored to have served this community, one that is so deeply committed to educational excellence without losing sight of what matters most, the development and growth of the whole child. If I may, I would like to specifically thank some past board members: Alice Schaff, John Flanagan, Tracy Kearney, Cindy Levine, Frank Panzica, Mark Steen, Kimberly Alcantara, I'm so sorry, Ellen Sternweiler, Bonnie Kim, John Cesaretti, Lisa Schneider-Fangs, and present board members for being such an important part of my career here in District 39. I've learned so much from you, and I am extremely grateful for your support. And Allison, Amy, Judy, Kristen, Katie, and Aaron. Thank you so much. And finally, I'm grateful to still have a few more weeks to work alongside an extraordinary team of dedicated, hardworking administrators. Calling you family hardly captures the depth of connection and admiration I feel. And Carrie, Dr. Cremascoli, I still remember meeting you during one of your first visits to Wilmette. You quickly earned my respect with your leadership on the D39 reopening guide, your support of my work, and most of all, your encouragement to step outside my comfort zone. Those pushes helped me grow in ways I had not imagined, and I'm very grateful. So with that, please join me and rise to say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Katie. I'm sure we'll have more words later this evening. And I'll turn it back over to Dr. Cremascoli for an announcement.
Thank you. We are very pleased to announce Lisa Sidlowski, who is recommended later on this evening's personnel report to become the new assistant principal at Ramona Elementary School starting July 1st. As Lisa approaches the podium, I will share just a little bit about Lisa. Lisa brings 15 years of experience in education to this important position, including as a classroom teacher at the preschool and elementary school levels, as a special education teacher, and as a math interventionist, as well as more recently as a coordinator in Arlington Heights School District 25. Her deep knowledge of best practices in elementary instruction, as well as her experiences leading MTSS initiatives, developing curriculum, and facilitating district-wide committees, made her a strong candidate for this position. Our interview teams were impressed by her vision and leadership, her experience in many aspects of elementary education, and her collaborative approach to teaching and learning. We are so pleased, Lisa, to welcome you to District 39.
Thank you so much. I am really, truly honored to be here and so excited to join the Ramona Mustang family. And I'm really glad that I have someone matching bright pink with me today. I hope your board meeting goes very well. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Lisa. We very much look forward to working with you. At this time, I seek a motion to approve the minutes of the May 19th, 2025 Board of Education regular and executive session meetings.
I move to approve the Board of Education minutes for the May 19th, 2025 regular and executive session meetings.
May I have a second?
Second.
The motion been made and seconded. Board members, are there any comments, errors, or omissions to the minutes? Okay. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Aaron Stone.
Yes.
Kristen DeCastro.
Yes.
Allison Pavlis.
Yes.
Amy Paling.
Yes.
Katie Hilton.
Yes.
Judy Berlin.
Yes.
Ann Hart.
Yes. The motion carries. This is the first opportunity for the public to address the board. Are there any community members present this evening that would like to speak? Okay, great. Then please stand to address the board, and I will remind guests to please state your name, community of residence, and by board directive, you are allowed 3 minutes to address the board.
Hi, my name is Miriam Ovington, and I am a Glenview resident. Am I missing anything else? No?
That's just fine.
That's good. Okay. I am here to address the board as the mother of a child who is about to enter the 5th grade at Highcrest Middle School. Speaking up has not always been an easy task for me, but I firmly believe that a candid discussion is the foundation of any constructive change, so I will proceed. I stand before you today as a concerned parent. For the past 3 years, I have been engaged in a struggle that I never anticipated, especially at this early age. For these 3 years, I have repeatedly found myself pondering these questions, and I stand here now seeking an answer, hoping you might assist me in finding peace with it. Why is an elementary school child provided with an individually assigned iPad to carry and take home? Why is my child being encouraged to read on an electronic device and engage in educational math games on such a device? What is the issue with traditional paper books and physical homework? Recently, I questioned, why did my child return home with a bag full of folders containing papers that had minimal work on them? Can you inform me about the amount of time our children are spending on their iPads during school hours? Who is overseeing whether our children's eyes are strained or if they're maintaining proper posture while using these devices? Sorry, I lost. Why is the school distributing these devices and then distancing itself from the usage that occurs at home? What research has the district conducted to support this teaching method for our children? Where is the motivation for the school's extensive use of iPads and other electronic devices, such as a Logitech crayon and VR headsets, originating from? I'm not a psychologist or a doctor, so I cannot precisely articulate what is occurring with our children's brains, behaviors, etc. But due to the extensive use of these electronic devices, but I am a mother and I am observant. I witness children being entertained by these devices rather than seeking face-to-face interactions and so much more, but I'm limited to 3 minutes. I have come to understand that the most effective way to grow is through reflection. At this moment, I am urging the board to genuinely reassess the direction you're pursuing regarding the teaching methods of our children.
Thank you. And to be clear, anyone who speaks in this first public comment section has 3 minutes, and you can come up later in the second public comment portion of the agenda and speak for an additional 1 minute. Or you can wait and speak later in that public comment part of the agenda and speak 3 minutes at that time. And then 1 minute later. Yep. Okay. Would anyone else like to speak this evening? Okay. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jennifer LaFlamme, and I reside in Libertyville. I'm here on behalf of my cousin Miriam and her children and the children in this district. I am a local community psychiatrist, and so I was asked to speak on some of the mental health impacts of technology, especially in the classroom, and how it pertains to young minds. So I had a couple of different kind of points to bring to the board. From a child development standpoint, the data is clear that excessive screen time for young children can negatively impact things like attention span, sleep quality, social and emotional skills, which I think we can all agree are really critical for the early educational years and the foundation that we're trying to build for these kids. When it comes to attention span, I think you can imagine that if a child is presented with an opportunity to read or color versus use something that is kind of much more highly stimulating, they will almost always choose the option that's more stimulating, the same way that they would probably choose a donut over a carrot. And so that's where, you know, the adults in the room are kind of responsible for shepherding some of those decisions and kind of helping them to make good choices for their own well-being. When it comes to mental health and behavior, we see the outcomes of excessive screen time, especially in my profession. We see issues with attention, concentration, which can have really lasting impacts on educational attainment and kind of outcomes down the line. We see the behavioral impacts of children who are kind of so overstimulated and spending so much time on screens and not enough time with their peers. And so I think what's missing there is really the genuine human contact and kind of the connection piece. Obviously, we can't get rid of technology completely, and the call is really for balance here to kind of strike a balance between using the things that are helpful without kind of going in an excessive direction. So definitely emphasizing things that are more interactive versus passive, things like just watching videos or kind of the child just, sitting there passively for the technology. I'm not sure, I probably have hit my 3 minutes, so that's where I'll end my time. But thank you very much for hearing my comments.
Thank you. And we do have a timer up here, so please feel free to keep going until our timer goes off. So thank you. Go ahead.
Kavanaugh. My wife Janet is here as well. We're here in Wilmette. We have a couple kids there in middle school. So to follow on the comments of others here, I've worked in a research setting for most of my career, and I've never been shy about following the evidence. And I just think that this is a topic that I didn't spend a ton of time on this, but in the limited time that I did, I think the evidence is overwhelming that, again, okay, Laflamme's, I think did a nice job of bringing some examples to life. But if we just look at the empirical evidence and we look at the experiment that we ran, the experiments failed. Just unequivocally, the experiments failed. So if you look at, I pulled recent studies from Harvard, MIT. There's an OECD research study that just came out that I encourage everyone to read. The one that really caught my attention is there's a JAMA study that just came out last year. It was a meta study that I thought was very interesting. So it combines 58 different studies that have been done and peer reviewed, and then includes over 480,000 participants. So this is very statistically significant and noteworthy. And again, I would encourage everyone to take a look at this evidence. But I have 3 minutes, so I don't have time to go through everything. But we're sitting here having this debate, and it's very clear that the experiment has failed, and we need to get back. We have thousands of years of evidence that paper and pen have done a perfectly great job of educating our kids. And if you look at how our students' results are dropping, and it's not just here, it's everywhere, and look at us across the world, we're failing there as well. So I don't think we have time to sit around and have debates about this. I would encourage anybody here who can take a peer-reviewed piece of evidence and show me that this is the right path to pursue. So I got 40 seconds, but I would conclude with the leaders of the world in terms of education have already pivoted away from these things. So in Finland, there's a historical reversal that took place last year. So they're renowned for their education system, and they moved away. They're back to paper and pencil for middle school. They were followed shortly by Sweden. So they have what's called the digital reversal in 2024. So this isn't rocket science. I just don't think this is not that complicated. The evidence is clear. Again, I can cite multiple studies. Here's one from Stanford. Technology might be making education worse. And this I don't think was peer reviewed. This was just an article by an associate professor in the Graduate School of Education. But this is everywhere. I just don't think that we're sitting here. I think we're spinning our wheels in some real way too. So,
thank you, Mr. Kavanaugh.
Follow the evidence.
Any other community members that would like to speak tonight?
Hi, good evening. My name is Hannah Tuttle. I have 3 kids. Two of them are at Central. Will be at Central in a couple years. And I just thought it worth introducing myself on behalf of Wait Until 8th Wilmette, a local grassroots movement who, much like 3 speakers have touched on, thank you. We are families in the community who want to delay smartphones and social media specifically for our kids. But I do think it goes hand in hand with technology in general and how, like was touched on before, technology is great and it's necessary, but we know now that we need to use it smartly. And it's important to me and the people here, but also over 700 families in Wilmette have signed a pledge to delay this technology for their kids. So my main point is that there's a few of us here tonight, but there's a large portion of the community that that we're representing here. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Charlene Fugel. I live in Wilmette. I have two children, one of them in Ramona, and one of them at some point soon, hopefully going to Ramona as well. And I'm a violinist. I'm a professional violinist, and I teach music as well. And one of the big problems that I see with having devices at school is that it makes it impossible for me as a parent at home to enforce the no device rule. Because then the question constantly is, well, I'm allowed to do it at school, so what's wrong with it? And so it puts the onus on me as the parent to constantly be the bad guy and to constantly say, no, in my house, these are my rules, no matter what your teachers say. And that is not a dynamic that I like as a teacher myself. I always want the parent and the teacher to function as a unit. But in this particular instance, I find myself constantly having to contradict what teachers are allowing my students, my kids, to go do, because what I know is not right for them in the moment. When I'm teaching, regardless of age, my youngest student right now is 4, I always have a 3-way conversation where it's the student and me and the parent making sure that we're working together to get the very best possible outcome. And I'm afraid that in these kinds of dynamics, where I, as the parent, have to really curtail that relationship, that doesn't set up a very good system for creating a healthy learning environment at home and at school.
Thank you. Sure. Come on up, please.
We were trying to save a baby possum on the way here. Didn't succeed, unfortunately, so I'm a little late. My name is Alina Resnick. I have a rising 3rd grader who's in Ramona, and twin boys who will be in Ramona in a year or 2. And I finished prepared. I failed to print it, so I'll just improvise. For the record, both me and my husband are IT professionals, and my parents and his parents are also IT professionals. And we are successful in our job, and we work with computers, and we work with internet. That's our living. However, we are successful in it. However, neither of us were introduced to technology until we were in our late teens. And we turned out just fine. And technology, when we were introduced to it, was way less intuitive and way less easy to learn versus what it is now. So the mantra that I keep hearing, while there are benefits to technology, using some for education, the mantra I keep hearing is if you don't introduce iPads in 2nd grade to prepare presentations, they will fail in your 3-year. Well, that's not true. You're our generation, the 40s and 50s. We turned out just fine learning technology later, when our brains were formed, when our ability to control our impulses was formed, and we are given the kids devices without proper limitations and expect them to just use them for learning when they're really toys. And we spoke with Tony several times at this point, when kids are using IXL for math as an additional educational opportunity and an opportunity for differentiation. Fine, several minutes a day maybe won't do any harm. But when kids are given iPads as an option for free time, instead of in-person interaction between the peers, with the peers or the teacher, when kids are allowed to go on their iPads during recess, or maybe between classes or in class, and I only have personal experience with elementary, and go on YouTube and search trailers for scary movies, and maybe some kids are ready for those, but kids sitting next to them, maybe not. I know of several families who had to deal with daily nightmares of kids who were exposed to content that they should not be, that wasn't age appropriate or was not appropriate for them. And we as parents, we can't, just like Charlene said, we can't control at home. But we just don't see how you can hand our kids devices without proper safeguards and really expose them to stuff, even in person, 2nd grade. So where does the benefit of IXL or, you know, maybe reading some books that are really not in the library, which I doubt, where does that stop and real danger begins? And where does the gamification of education end? Because the kids, you know, they get used to this.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Christina Ballister. I know some of you in the room. I have 3 children that have come through the district. I did not prepare anything, so I'm just going to speak freely. I found the topic really interesting. And to be fair, in my experience with my children, I have a high schooler, I have an incoming 8th grader, and also an incoming 5th grader. You know, when iPads were introduced, I understand the thought was this is innovation and we've kind of got to stay with where things are going and you know, keeping the kids in tune with technology. And I think that for me, the concern is more just about having some balance and making sure we're not abandoning, you know, the ability for children to read books within their hands. And I know at Highcrest, I've seen some of the teachers, you know, give them that opportunity, which I was really grateful for. And I want to be fair because I do see that my 4th grader has handwritten some stories, but my concern is more that in the foundational years, I'm not clear on how much time is really being devoted in each grade to the use of iPads, to contrast with these really incredibly important ways in which our brains are learning as young people. It's been my experience that the brain learns through pressure and input from what I've learned from occupational therapists, and writing and pressing and processing as they put pens to paper, as their thoughts are expressed. And that's to some degree being lost. And so I just, for me, also want to bring up, I don't really have a good understanding about how EMFs and exposure to our children in the long term, you know, just the Wi-Fi, just all of the hands, the fingers on the screen. I know when I hold my phone, you know, my thumb is warm and heated, and I'm an adult, right? So we don't quite know the long-term effects of my son constantly doing his math with his finger, right? To me, that's a concern, because even though I ask him to use a stencil or the Apple Pen, and I don't think anybody really knows yet. Maybe we do now, but whether it's being thought about thoughtfully, I think is something why I'm here tonight. I just want to raise these questions as a concern, because I do have an incoming 5th grader, and I do agree that introducing devices early does create a habit in a way at a young age that is a difficult one to break as an adult. We all had a foundation without it, and we're able to maybe manage that more with control. So that's just another thought that I think we need to think about, is this habit we've created and the difficulty with them breaking it when they have to do other things. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Anam Shah, and I also just wanted to speak really quickly to this. I probably won't take much time. I'm a Nutria graduate myself, and we moved here really for the district. My husband's from the west suburbs. We brought our family here. And when we first came here, it was really because we were told that technology was not as integrated into elementary school learning as it was in our older district. And after moving here, I've realized that it really is, and it's growing after kind of 2nd grade to an amount that's not really healthy for my daughter. My daughter doesn't do really well with it. If she gets more than about 20 minutes a day, she starts kind of being overwhelmed and overstimulated. And I've been noticing that as she's getting more of it at school this year. So I think we really need to be cognizant of kind of the different kids we have within the district and what their needs are and how they react to it. I come from a tech startup. I'm in the tech space. I'm no way going to say that tech is not good or that we don't need it or that kids don't need to learn it. I mean, I work in AI. So I understand how important it is, but I do think we have to be more responsible with how we're kind of using it and be more mindful that we have different kids in the district who have different needs, who react to it differently, and kind of really take that into account. So that's kind of all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm Janet Kavanaugh. My husband spoke earlier, and he gives more of a general overview, but I'm going to speak more practically just to what I've seen with my kids, like with IXL. Like a lot of times I feel like when they're doing their math and they're not doing it on pen and paper, you know, lines are not autocorrect, so they're borrowing from the wrong column. Or I think that sometimes, like, if they don't get a problem right, then they get more time assigned. So then I don't know if that was the right application or not, but anyway, but I feel like my son was more worried about that than actually knowing the problem. And then I see my daughter write on the iPad, and oh my gosh, I'm just I'm mortified by her spelling. I mean, it's really bad, but she has autocorrect, so she doesn't really have to recognize that. I just think that the grammar and some of the things that are auto-correcting on the iPad are just taking away from their ability to learn some of those basic skills. And I mean, writing is such an important aspect in everyone's life. I know why we got to the iPads. I mean, they were a lifeline during COVID, but I think now we really have to kind of backtrack and think about maybe some of these other elements that are impacting learning.
Thank you, Janet.
My name's Janine Mackay. I'm here in, I guess, a few different capacities. One is just a mom of a 3-year-old, also a mom of a 7-year-old who I have watched in first grade grow and blossom, but also change in certain ways that he comes home from school. And unfortunately, he only wants to talk about his iPad. He wants to talk about the iPad activities that he did. And I have to get out of him, really pull out of him human interactions and things that he did besides doing kind of gamified learning. Also as an ophthalmologist, I'm here. I am an ophthalmologist at Northwestern University downtown. I'm not sure if I came in a little bit late, not sure if anyone spoke about this, but just want to make sure that it's, we very much believe where I'm at practicing evidence-based medicine. And there are most certainly significant studies that show that these are critical ages in regards to the ADHD, but also in regards to the myopia, so nearsightedness progression. I'm sure other people are here as well who have kids who are likely going to become nearsighted. My kids are most likely because both mommy and daddy are. And these are critical ages 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, for them to not be holding a screen inside very, very close to their face. My kid sees a doctor every 6 months now to make sure that he's not becoming nearsighted. We don't have to start treating it. And again, very likely other kids are. And I think that it's important that we try to limit that for obvious reasons that are more important than the myopia. But I just want to make sure that that's clear, that it's not just a matter of wearing glasses. I mean, myopia is related to, that can cause complications that cause blinding diseases, retinal detachments, glaucoma, myopic degeneration. Those are the things that I'm dealing with. I'm not a pediatric ophthalmologist. I'm an adult ophthalmologist. But I'm seeing those complications related to those things. So when I see that my kid is coming home and talking about his iPad so much, I recognize that, one, that is exactly what these companies want us to be doing. They want them to, just as many of us are probably very addicted to our screens, the kids seem to be as well. And there are definitely health implications related to that. So I just want to make sure that that is highlighted as well today.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Denise Snyder. My daughter goes to Ramona. She's an incoming 3rd grader. I actually was not planning to come to speak. I've just been very interested in this topic. I've been following a lot of the research and the studies over the past few years about technology and children, and my husband is also in the tech industry. What I would like to see is alternative options for families who recognize that this type of technology does not work for their children. My daughter is susceptible to what you were just talking about, the vision problems. Her eye doctor said, you're going to have to come back soon and we're going to see how it's progressing. You might be in glasses next year. And it's because of the usage of the screens that it's causing earlier and earlier problems in children. And my daughter has really sensitive eyes. And so that's one of the things that the doctor is very concerned for her. But also we notice personally at home as a family, whenever there's more screen time used in the schools, even at home, we do our best to try to limit it more and more, that we recognize that there's impulsivity issues. That for her, there are some times whenever she has decreased ability to focus on things. And whenever we get really strict, just like you were talking about, saying no screens at home, taking away the technology at home, we notice some of that decreases. And so there are children that are affected differently by different types of technology. And so I just would like to see that there be some alternative options for those families. That doesn't necessarily ostracize the children, but in a way that is also helpful so that we can help navigate this together. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak this evening?
Hi, I'm Jocelyn Shook. Thank you all very much for listening and discussing this, or listening to this topic, hopefully discussing in the future. I have 4 kids that went through elementary, and now currently that oldest is going to be a senior in high school. And I just wanted to really push the board to really discuss this topic before the upcoming school year. I think this is really telling that we have over 740 signatures in 18 days of people that are very concerned about the effects of screens on our kids. I think it's also concerning that we, as a board and a superintendent, doesn't know, or teachers don't know how much screen time we're actually giving our kids. So you don't know how much they're getting in Spanish or math, and then we have no idea overall how much they're getting. So I really want to try to see if we can get a number on that, or maybe limit that to maybe even like 10% of the class period. So maybe like really having a strict amount across the board so we can really understand how this is affecting our kids and hopefully having a better outcome in the evening. I think my biggest thing also is security. I know you're probably so sick of hearing me talk about this, but my kids are amazing at their iPads, and they've managed to get on eBay. I just found out that my middle kiddo, who I thought was the perfect angel, we got a package in the mail, and I was like, wow, that's really interesting. I didn't order anything. He's like, well, I did. And he got on with his school email, and he used the school iPad and bought things off eBay. And he's not the first shook kid to do this, but this was like my angel baby. So I'm just surprised that there's no restrictions on that. And to piggyback off that, I know there's many kiddos in 7th and 8th grade that enjoyed using Depop and other avenues to sell cologne or perfume or clothing on their school iPads as well. And I think we really need to be looking at this and understanding what our kids are doing. So they may have their iPad up while the teacher's talking, but they're doing something else on it. And that's super hard to monitor, or we're not using the tools that we have available to monitor them. So I think really I would love screen down and be able to have these kids have the interaction that they actually need in a school setting. There's not many other opportunities they're going to have with as many people face to face and as many opportunities to connect with people. So thank you, board, so much for at least listening to us and all of our concerns. And we really hope that this is something that we can talk about and maybe change for this upcoming school year. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak?
I'm Ashley Bromagen. I have 3 kids in, well, 2 in District 39 right now. One's an incoming 5th grader at Highcrest, and one's a rising 2nd grader at Mackenzie, and then one's coming soon. But I too am concerned about all of these issues that have been raised. My husband and I signed the Wait Until 8th pledge. We signed the change.org petition that was going around. I'm particularly concerned because anecdotally I've heard about kids that are in middle school or junior high or high school that where, as she just mentioned, there's not really consistency on what they're doing, and we don't know exactly how much time they're spending. I think there's been a lot of research, whether we're talking about behavioral issues or mental health issues or vision health. You know, there's just so much, the proliferation of screen time for kids these days. And if I am having a hard time understanding what my kids are getting at school, I don't know how to adjust for it. I would love to be able to do the 10 minutes on IXL every night and the 20 minutes of XYZ and whatever other programs are. But I don't feel comfortable doing that because I don't know how much time they're getting. So just would ask for you all to be very thoughtful and ask those questions, set those limits so that we can help support our kids now and in the future.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak at this time? All right. Well, we thank you all for being here, for taking the time out to be here to share your experience, your concerns. We do appreciate it. And again, as I mentioned, there will be a time later in tonight's agenda for public comment as well. At this time, we will move on to board reports, starting with committees. First tonight will be Facilities Development. Mrs. DeCastro.
Thank you. The Facility Development Committee met on June 2nd as part of the Committee of the Whole. The board received a brief update on the WJHS first floor air conditioning construction project that will begin after school is out for the summer and expected to be completed by mid-August. The Harper PTA will be funding the expansion of the footprint of the Harper Playground to add new equipment. The Harper Playground donation agreement will be voted on later in tonight's agenda. The 5-year capital project summary was also reviewed. Bids for the WJHS first floor AC renovations have been authorized by the board. Design work has been authorized for the WJHS window replacement project, and that work is ongoing. Projects beyond summer 2026 are to be determined by composition and priority. Those projects will likely be impacted by the district's next strategic plan and by other items such as the 10-year life safety review.
Thank you. We'll move on to school finance. Mrs. Paling.
So the School Finance Committee also met at the Committee of the Whole on June 2nd. We reviewed the fiscal year 2026 tentative budgets for D39 and for the Wilmette Community Special Education Agreement, WICSE. Approval of these tentative budgets appears on tonight's agenda. We also reviewed the annual resolutions and renewals, which are recommended for approval tonight. A brief update was also shared regarding the status of the Special Education Transportation Services contract renewal, which appears on our agenda as well.
Great. Thank you. And now for strategy, Ms. Stone.
Yes, the Strategy Committee also met on June 2nd as part of the Committee of the Whole, during which time the board received and reviewed several in-depth reports regarding the district's strategic plan work. The board received detailed presentations on spring academic assessment results, social emotional learning assessment results, the results of the recently administered Comprehensive School Climate Inventory, also known as CSCI. There are so many celebrations within these reports and also, as always, some identified areas of opportunities for improvement and growth. All of these reports are publicly available through board docs, and Committee of the Whole meeting recordings, like general board meeting recordings, are also available for future viewing. We want to encourage everyone who is interested to take the time to review the reports and listen to the meeting discussion.
Thank you. All right, we are moving on to liaison reports, and we will start with Community Review Committee. Mrs. Paplis, please.
Thank you. Dr. Kremscoli and I attended the CRC's final meeting for the 2024-2025 school year on Tuesday, June 3rd. The CRC at that meeting welcomed new members and also invited other community members who are interested to join the CRC for the next school year. The committee discussed possible topics for next year and decided to push that vote to finalize the topic to their first meeting next year.
Okay, great. And now for the District Strategic Advisory Team, or DSAT, Mrs. Paling and Mrs. Paplis.
Sure, I can update. We were both happy to participate on behalf of the board. The DSAT met on May 29th and got a preview of the strategic plan updates. And then the administration used all of that pretty extensive, helpful feedback for presentation later tonight.
Great, we look forward to that. Thank you. And Intergovernmental Cooperation Working Group, Dr. Kremscoli attended on behalf of Ms. Stone, I believe.
Well, that is true that we did not have a board representative there, but I also was not able to attend, but I do have an update. The Wilmette Intergovernmental Cooperation Working Group did meet on May 22nd. This was an organizational meeting, and unfortunately, we weren't able to have a representative there. However, I connected with the team for an update, and the meeting was really not too long. The committee stuck to the agenda after introductions and providing a few updates. The discussion centered on the work of the subcommittees for the group's chosen topic of interest, and the group is working on the civility project, as was talked about at the last meeting as well. So members volunteered themselves for the subcommittees and agreed to meet again before the next meeting. The subcommittees are going to be focused on 5 areas: social media, rules of order, civility pledge, campaigns, and training. And their work will continue throughout next year, and we look forward to partnering with our Wilmette governmental partners to support civility in all of our public meetings.
Thank you for the update. All right, Illinois Association of School Boards, IASB, Mrs. Berlin.
Hi there. I only have 2 memos from ISBE, and they're really related to school board members. The first is for those of us who were new board members, newly sworn in April. I'm just reminding everyone that there are 3 required trainings. The first one was in May, but if you missed it, it's recorded and you can go to the website and get it. The next one actually is coming up on June 12th, and then there's a 3rd one. So this is just a reminder for those. And then the other reminder is that there is the annual conference is November 21st to the 23rd, and any board members who are interested in attending should register soon.
Thank you. I'm going to go back. I think I missed one item on the agenda. I apologize for that. Parent-Teacher Advisory Committee, Mrs. DeCastro. Sorry, I skipped over that previously.
The Parent-Teacher Advisory Committee met to review the district's discipline and bullying prevention policies and to make recommendations. The committee considered existing information about discipline, bullying reports, and behavioral interventions.
Thank you for that important update. Appreciate it. All right, Wilmette Community Special Education Agreement, Mrs. Hilton.
Thank you. WICSE met today and approved changes to the advisory board, confirmed next year's meeting dates, and approved the tentative budget and year-to-date activity.
Great, thank you. And then lastly, legislative updates. Back to Mrs. Berlin.
Okay, the legislature is not in session, so there's nothing pending that requires our attention. But in the final hours of their meeting before adjourning, they did pass a budget and several bills. They allocated $75 million to ensure that the Tier 2 pension system complies with the Social Security safe harbor minimum benefit requirements. They did not address modifying any other pension benefits. Most of the other bills related to high schools, but there are 2 that might eventually be of interest to elementary districts. One bill asks the State Board of Education, or tasks the State Board of Education with creating guidance on the use of artificial intelligence in elementary and secondary schools, which is kind of interesting in light of the conversations here, which, I mean, honestly, artificial intelligence is so far ahead of whether or not we're going to use iPads in the classroom, but the state legislature is concerned about that issue. And the other one eliminates, I'm sure we'll love this, some mandates and establishes a school code mandate reduction council to review and recommend removal of outdated mandates. Like I said, I'm sure we're all looking forward to their work.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, we are moving on to information items. I will turn this over to Dr. Kremiscoli, please.
Thank you so much. In terms of written communication, the board received several written communications, primarily regarding the WJHS schedule changes and some staffing feedback, and then also one regarding busing fees. Under our administrative announcements, we have reached the end of the school year. The school year has come to a close as of Friday, and we have so many celebrations to acknowledge, from our year-end reports to the board, to kindergarten promotions and celebrations, to musical performances, to retirement celebrations, from the academic growth of our students, some of which we recently celebrated during the spring assessment report at our recent Committee of the Whole meeting, and others were celebrated during our most recent Board of Education meeting. Many, many accomplishments, regional, state, and national competitions. We're really proud of what our students have been able to accomplish. To the progress accomplished through our strategic plan goals, which you'll hear a little bit more about this evening. We celebrated 4th grade clap outs and our WJHS graduation. It really has been a wonderful conclusion to the school year. I want to take a moment to thank our teachers and administrators for all of their hard work this school year, to recognize and appreciate our students for their commitment to excellence within the classroom and beyond, and to celebrate our parents and our community members for their partnership and support. And finally, to thank the board for your vision and support as well. Together, we have created a really successful school year for our students, and we're very grateful for that. We did have a great WJHS graduation last week at New Trier High School, and thank you to so many of our board members who joined us in celebrating our students there. The gym at New Trier was absolutely packed, but it seemed relatively comfortable, and we're really glad that all of our students can come together and celebrate together. That's something new for the second year in a row that we've been able to celebrate all students together at the same time. And then Friday, we said farewell to an outstanding group of students and staff in each of our schools. And so we're really grateful for both a wonderful school year and hopefully a fun and productive school summer ahead. As we plan for next year under our personnel report, you'll see that we're continuing to interview and hire some really outstanding teachers, administrators, and certified staff for the upcoming school year. On this evening's personnel report, we're proud to welcome several teachers, and we have really been impressed by the candidate pool for so many of these positions. So we're excited for that, and we'll host New Teacher Week the week before Institute's days next year in August, beginning of the next school year, I should say, to be clear. I also have an update regarding the Highcrest Middle School and WJHS scheduling update. We've continued to review and work through the schedules there. So just as a quick and brief update, there's a minor adjustment that we'd like to recommend, and that would be to the start time. So leaving all other factors of the schedule the same, we'd like to bump the start time back just a couple of minutes, really, to allow 5 minutes between 0 hour and the start of school. So that adjustment would provide for start times at Highcrest. That would be at 8:45 and school would end at 3:37. The other benefit is it starts at what most adults figure is kind of like a typical 5-minute start time. Us in schools, we count by the minutes, but to start at 8:45 and at WJHS to start at 8:20 and end at 3:12. So it just gives just a little more wiggle room. We heard quite a bit about the start time, and so we're trying to accommodate for that. But all other aspects of the schedule remain unchanged, including the following: that 25-minute daily homeroom that we've talked quite a bit about, 40-minute class periods for all other classes, 3-minute passing periods between all of the classes, again, except for that 0 hour to first period, and then school starts 5 minutes earlier rather than the original 7 minutes earlier. So it's really just a 2-minute bump to give a little more wiggle room right at the start of the school year, start of the school day, and allow us to start at a little bit more. That's the update there. We don't have any Freedom of Information Act requests to report, and therefore we can move on to annual business unless there's questions, of course. Okay, so moving on to annual business. Our first matter of business is our District 39 strategic plan. This is our end of year presentation. As the board recalls, in September of 2021, the district administration submitted goals and strategies for the 2021 through 2026 District 39 strategic plan for the board, which the board approved. Having received approval, the work has continued each year and action steps are identified for each of the 5 years. We just concluded the 4th year of this 5-year plan, and we have accomplished a whole lot. There still is, of course, more work to do, but we're really proud to report this year on our 4th year of implementation. And so we have our goal champions here to provide a comprehensive report, and the board has been provided a summary as well. And with gratitude to our district strategic advisory team for their feedback, I will turn it over to our very own Katie Lee, who will kick us off in presentation.
Yes.
Thank you.
And on behalf of all of the administrators, we are sharing the strategic plan end of the year update. I can't believe how fast time flies. This is our one-page strategic plan with our vision and goals and strategies. And as Dr. Kramascoli shared, we are so appreciative of this particular group of district strategic advisory team. We have some second year members that will be rolling off. And so this is a public announcement that we will be recruiting some members to join our team for next year. And so much gratitude toward this group in general for the feedback that we've received throughout the year. And so we'll start with goal 1, which is student achievement and growth, ensuring a differentiated education that provides a strong foundation of rigorous academic learning. We have our goal 1 key performance indicators. The outcome indicators are what we term as the KPIs, and the strategy indicators, that some other pieces of data that we monitor progress over time.
The next section are our high priority action steps, and we have either completed all of these action steps or they are ongoing because they involve professional development that involves additional PD each year as we get new staff members and in order to make sure that everybody is up to speed with what we're doing. And then the next area, I'm going to talk a little bit about the KPIs, our key performance indicators for our youngest learners, our kindergarten and first graders. We had a goal for 80% of our kindergarten and first graders to be on track in terms of their early literacy and early math skills. And it's very exciting. We've seen great progress over the last 4 years. And this is the second year in a row that we have had at least 80% of our kindergarten and first graders on track. That means scoring average or above on the early literacy indicators. And 85% we've met in all 4 years for our early numeracy indicators. So it's very exciting and a lot to celebrate there.
An overview of the KPIs that pertain to the NWA MAP assessment. We have both growth and achievement, and in 3 of our 4 growth categories, we have met in the 15% or less in the low growth category for 2 years straight. We are close in some of the other areas, but that is our area of opportunity for sure. For MAP achievement, I'm proud to say that, as you can see in the green bar for the math and the high achievement, we have now met 3 out of the 4 of our KPIs in the achievement, establishing that MAP high category at 55%. We wanted to also include some of the information that we shared in our assessment plan during the spring, just to monitor our reading achievement as well as our math achievement. Consistently, our students are performing at a year or more than their national peers when it comes to their RIT scores. And for everyone's context, when we started strategic planning, we wanted to set rigorous goals. And therefore, you can see that there are 5 color bands. So we set some high goals as far as quintiles versus quartiles when we're dividing up our data into fourths. And so we're very proud of what I would like to highlight, the high and the high average for you, as well as the low, because we are meeting our KPIs based on those data. So as a summary for this current year, you'll see reading achievement over time from 2021 to 2025 current. Our goal for spring is 4% or less in the low, and we have met that. Current is 4%, and our goal is 50% of our students or more in the high category, and currently we're at 44. For math, our KPI goal is 4% or less in the low, and currently it's 2%. So we have met that for several years. And then the goal is 55 or more in the high, and currently we're at 55. So we have definitely met that one. This is the same information for growth. Again, keeping in mind that our students start at a grade or more higher, we are monitoring the growth level for all of our students. And for the reading KPI in growth, the goal is 15% or less in the low, and currently we're at 18%. And the goal is 25% or more in high, and currently we're at 20%. For the math KPI, spring of 2025 progress update, the goal is 15% or less in low, and currently we are at 15%. And the goal is 30% or more in high, and we're very close, so currently in 28%. In the winter mid-year update, we provided a fall to winter reading growth. This is just a new lens of the same type of information, and we just wanted to show that although we improved from fall to spring, from fall to winter in the low category, we are looking at how we can improve in the reading growth for the high category. And this is the same piece of information, but for math growth and for fall to winter to fall to spring, we've improved in both the high and the low. So if you recall the strategy indicators, one thing that we have started within this strategic plan is goal setting. We know that that is a practice that's helpful for our students and also for adults. So for our kindergarten through fourth grade classroom teachers, we've asked some survey questions, and what we're looking for is that the academic goal type would remain high. So you can see at the bottom of semester 1, it says academic goal types are kindergarten through fourth grade teachers report 85%, and non-academic, which is more behavior and social emotional, is at 15%. And in semester 2, they reported 84% and 16% for the month. 5th through 8th grade goal setting, these questions are actually asked of our students. And so you can see the 5-8 goal types in the academic remained high at 87% and 89% respectively, with the non-academic at 13 and 11%. One area that we would like to continue to monitor is the student perception of reviewing their goals and monitoring their progress. That's one thing that's eluded us a little bit as far as the type of feedback they are sending us. We thought it was the questions for a little bit, but now we think maybe we need to reanalyze how we're gathering this data. So goal setting over time, just to see, since this is our 4th year, the percentage of goal setting from winter to spring, which means first semester and second semester, and the 5-8 student survey. We're very pleased with these results. We also have a strategy indicator asking us to achieve some differentiated and focused professional learning and trainings. And this page, you will see what we call our institute days, when students have the day at home and we engage in learning. And so there are 4 different institute days within the year, and our goal is at least a 4.5. So when we average all of our ratings of the 4 different ones, we're at 4.1. This particular type of professional learning opportunity that we provide is when it is really focused on a particular audience, and we've done very well in meeting the needs of it being differentiated and focused for our staff with an average rating of 4.8. And this is just to share with you progress over time, and again, consistently looking for patterns and areas of growth. But our goal is to meet at least 4.5 rating from our staff.
Moving on to goal 2, our supportive community. So we're looking to cultivate a supportive and inclusive learning community responsive to the social, emotional, and behavioral needs of each student. And like goal 1, you'll see the outcome indicators, which translate into our KPIs, and the strategy indicators, which are items that we keep track of as we're looking at our action steps and our goals over the course of the year. Here are our high priority action steps. Again, you can see there's a mix of completed and ongoing. A couple of things of note. We have really been working at the social emotional learning curricula in 5-8, and that has been implemented in a first step this year, and it will be continued and expanded upon next year in those grade levels, 5th through 8th grade. And another one that is important to note is our SEL skill development reporting for the SEL committee, which will be ongoing, and we'll be looking at how we're communicating home to families throughout the year on an ongoing process. So that's another good piece of work there. All right, this is our KPI updates for our social emotional assessments. These were reported on last week at the Committee of the Whole meeting, and they just review the different competency areas that we monitor. You can see in K3, we monitor emotion recognition and social perspective taking. In grade 4, we monitor understanding others and social problem solving, and we've met in 3 out of those 4 areas. Over 5th through 8th grade, we look at increasing over the course of the year in the Panorama Mesh survey. This is a challenge for us that we continue to investigate, and I encourage you to look back at the Committee of the Whole report to learn more about those numbers. One of our KPIs originally was written for the 5 essentials. We started to administer the comprehensive school climate inventory in lieu of the 5 essentials last year. And so this chart just shows the different areas that we monitor on the CSCI now and how they translate to the 5 essentials. You can see there our spring 2025 scores. These were also reported out on at the Committee of the Whole meeting. But we had some really great celebrations in a lot of these areas. And this is just a quick look at how those show up on our dashboard with our KPIs. The areas in green are met. There are several areas that we stayed the same in as well. One of our strategy areas that we monitor are extracurriculars at Highcrest and Wilmette Junior High. We are so excited about all of our club offerings at both schools. It really, at the last board meeting, I believe we had a CRC report talking about belonging and sharing about the power of clubs and high interest clubs. And we really have tackled that at both schools. And the club offerings keep increasing, and we offer a lot of student voice in those clubs. So it's really exciting to see. The next couple of slides are just monitoring our staff's confidence and ability to implement the SEL framework. And you'll see on the right-hand side of the pie graph, you'll see extremely prepared and quite prepared, even somewhat prepared are the larger chunks there. So we're feeling pretty good about how prepared our teachers are feeling with implementing or teaching the SEL skills. The next is confidence. Again, those 3, extremely confident, quite confident, and somewhat confident. Those are the majority of our teachers are reporting that they have confidence in their instruction. And finally, the time per week. And so you'll see that the yellow is less than 1 time, and then it goes all the way up to daily. The orange is the daily. So we are glad with the numbers there, about 22% there, and 1 to 2 times a week, which is really what we're aiming for, is close to 30%. And so we would like to continue to increase those numbers, and our hopes are that with some of the changes, especially at the 5-8 level, that we're able to do that.
And the next area is our Foundation's behavior team and behavior supports. We have been working with Safe and Civil Schools for the past 4 years to develop really well-integrated teams at each of our elementary and middle and junior high schools to really focus on Tier 1 behavior support. So identifying needs within the building, getting staff buy-in, creating rules that are commonly understood by both teachers and staff, and tracking the data to make sure that what they're doing is working. The teams are incredibly excited. We have now finished our formal work with Safe and Civil Schools. We've been through all of the modules that they have. We've done a tremendous amount of training with both our buildings and our students. The teams next year will be continuing that work forward, and we'll probably do some consultation with Safe and Civil Schools to continue to keep the energy and excitement up. But we also culminated this year with a fair where all of the schools shared the information that they had collected over the course of the time, shared strategies. It was one of the more exciting things that we've had. Lots of teachers, staff that were just so excited about the work they've done, and really good data to demonstrate that we've seen a lot of improvement in student behavior. So it's very exciting, and I'm looking forward to continuing the work.
All right, goal 3 focuses on our staff and faculty and their needs and action steps related to our personnel. You can see our KPIs, both our outcome indicators as well as our strategy indicators. Those have remained consistent since the inception of our strategic plan. Our high priority action items, like goals 1 and 2, are either completed or ongoing. A few things that I'd like to highlight are our work with facilitated IEP training. That has really seen a lot of interest this year. We haven't quite gotten to that advanced facilitated training yet, but the initial training, we've been able to train more, and the advanced element is certainly an option for staff moving forward. The other piece that we focused in on is looking at our hiring practices, and this was a direct outcome of the DEIB work done in the previous school years. This year, we spent a lot of time as an administrative team looking at our process and identifying and updating that. It's been several years since we've done that, tweaking our questions and making sure it aligns with our current needs, perhaps speeding up the process a bit more at certain points. It seemed to have taken a bit longer in years past, and we don't want to lose any of our candidates that were seeking for District 39. And so we spent several afternoons talking through that and refining that process. More work to be done, but we have a great start. Similar to goal 2, we are looking at the CSCI data relative to staff responses. So Kelly shared information out about student responses and families, and this is really looking at how our staff are responding. It's nice to now this year have a baseline from spring of 24, and looking at spring of 25, we either kind of held steady or improved slightly in most of our areas. So that has been a nice outcome to look at. Since we started our strategic plan, we've used questions from the Panorama survey relative to cultural competency and culturally responsive teaching. And so this shows the progression of staff responses over time. You may recall in earlier presentations, we actually had 5 categories each administration. We've combined the top 2 and the bottom 2 just to be able to look visually to see our progression over the course of time since we started giving this in the fall of 22. But some areas have shown improvement, others we have more work to do. This is the open-ended response in asking staff how we could better help them be able to discuss and confront issues of different races and ethnicities, either with each other as colleagues or even within their teaching. And so these are some areas that might lead us to some action steps for next year as we look at planning out our last year with the strategic plan. One element that we continue to monitor is the number of times we have to pull our paraprofessionals or our teaching assistants from their typical assignment and working with specific students to sub in our schools. You may recall during COVID, we needed more subs, we had more absences, and so this became something that was really putting a strain on our schools, and we wanted to monitor it. We've done a nice job improving. I think we've got a healthy pool of subs. We've been able to fill more of our positions, and this has had a direct impact on our paraprofessionals and how often we need them to sub within our schools. The next couple slides is data that was presented last fall and really hasn't changed, but continues to remain true for goal 3. This fall, October of 2025, you can expect an update in these specific strategy indicators. it's old data, but it's relevant to goal 3. Takes us to goal 4.
Goal 4, family partnerships, where we're strengthening partnerships by connecting, collaborating, and communicating with families and communities to advance teaching and learning. Here's our outcome and strategy indicators that we've been focusing on over the last 4 or 5 years. And as you read those, you'll notice a lot of the action steps that you've heard me talk about directly tie into these things. Many of them are deliverables that we've been working on. So as far as our high priority action steps for this school year, the first bullet point, we were to increase academic and assessment reports, allow online attendance submission, and provide historical report card access in PowerSchool Parent Portal. This has been completed. So as far as the first one, we added a plugin into our PowerSchool Parent Portal called PLS Vault that allows for various reports that have a student ID to be uploaded into that place so that parents can go and access those reports, both when they are available to us, making them available to you as parents, and then historical, just keeping them there to archive so that you can go back and pull those down. The attendance submission was by adding attendance monitor. So in addition to emailing the office or phone calling the office through the parent portal and clicking on attendance monitor, a parent may submit an absence through PowerSchool Parent Portal. That's been available since the start of the school year. Historical report card access was the latest component by adding something called Report Creator. We did a soft launch with this for right now, so we didn't announce it, but in conjunction with the report card that parents are used to seeing by logging into the parent portal and it being in the upper left-hand corner, down below, if you click on reports, you'll see another version that looks very similar to the other report card. We're just making sure that it looks proper and getting any feedback from parents so we can make adjustments, but it is available right now. That will become the new report card. The nice part about that, there's 2 parts to it. One is that we will be able to archive these report cards, whereas before it was just a web page view that just changed every time. So these will be archived and will be there. So you could download it as a PDF, print it, or go back to grab a previous one. And the other is digital signatures. So we didn't turn this on right now as we're just soft launching the report card, but to be able to capture digital signatures to make sure that our parents have received it. So maybe that's a future KPI for the purpose of Goal 4, but that functionality is there. Second bullet point, organize and categorize videos on the district YouTube channel. This has been completed. So we organized our playlists. Board meetings are now available in playlists based on school year, as well as some other categories. We added some imagery, some links, updated some information. And if you take a look at that, it's a much cleaner look and easier to find the videos that you or other parents may be seeking. The third bullet point is ongoing. So this is on pause for now and will be revisited this upcoming year. One thing, as we began the process of exploring an incoming 5th and 7th grade open house for students, is that our needs at Highcrest as well as the junior high may be different. So we do have some events, Highcrest Hangouts, orientation, some tours that occur at Highcrest as that our parents are transitioning from the elementary school to the next big school. So that has led to some events, but it may need to look a little bit different. And we need a little more time to explore what that would be for, at least for the junior high. So both Highcrest and junior high, we're going to continue to look at that next year. And the final one, host parent events regarding the benefits of free play. This has been completed. So we held our Let's Play events at all 4 elementary schools as well as Highcrest this past fall in conjunction with the Alliance for Early Childhood and a variety of different community organizations across Wilmette in the area. Those were pretty well received to the point where maybe for one of our parent or 2 for our parent events next school year, maybe we'll do it again. Maybe not at every school, but just host 1 or 2 on behalf of the district. And then we also had a free play author, Jessie Ilhart, that did a parent event from Vocal. And she's also, she was well received. And be remiss not to mention that great report from CRC that led to a lot of this work and our thoughtful integration of trying to think about where free play can fit into our schools, recess, and beyond. So, and then I'm going to turn it over to Kelly Jackson for KPI slide.
This is just one of the areas that we've been monitoring. This year, we continued to monitor the positive experience for parents and students with the 6th to 7th grade transition. And you can see there, we increased in both areas. So that was really exciting for us. We're on the right track.
All right, goal 5 is stewardship of resources. All right, here's our KPIs. We had 3 outcome indicators, and we've also had 3 strategy indicators recently. So here's our update. District 39 for over like 20 years now has earned the financial recognition on the fiscal year 24 financial statement audit. It's the highest designation that any school district, the public school district in Illinois can earn. For fiscal year 24, the final fund balance for the operating funds was 52.4%, over the 40% target that we set for each year. And the board has also approved the construction projects for the summer of 25, which got going on this past Saturday, which is the first floor air conditioning renovations at the junior high.
Action step related to 5-8 scheduling. You've heard a bit about this in recent meetings as well as earlier tonight, but we're having daily homeroom for 25 minutes at each grade level starting in 3-minute passing periods at both schools. We adjusted the start and end times just slightly to accommodate that, and we're committed to looking at the implementation of this adjustment and what else might be needed.
And here's our graphic for goal 5, 52.4% for fiscal year 24.
And we're happy to answer any questions. All of those screenshots you can find on our strategic plan dashboard. We just wanted to make sure that the one was highlighted specific to each of the goal areas. So we invite you to visit our website and take a look at our ongoing progress monitoring tool. We're happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you very much. I just, I guess I have one question, one comment. First, just a comment on the end of year update. I just wanted to thank you for this summary of when all of this work was discussed and presented, because some of it was so current. You know, I know we talked about the spring assessment during the committee of the whole, I think it was last week. So, but going through this information, it was great to be able to reference back to those discussions and those presentations throughout the year. So thanks for putting that together. It was a great resource. And then I'll just mention about the DSAT, which has been just an excellent way to really tap into and utilize a cross-section of stakeholders across the community. And you had mentioned we have, I think, some of our team members rolling off this year, and there will be recruitment going forward for anyone who is listening or interested. Could you guys speak a little bit to what that recruitment process will look like?
There's an application where an email communication will go out to the community. I believe it already actually had one, or no?
I think it's gone out yet, okay. But it will with the specific dates, and the team meets a couple times a year, primarily over Zoom, but occasionally in person as well. And it's a great team to be part of, and we will be seeking some additional parents as well as teachers and staff members to serve for next year as well. So look for that application. It's a super easy application to fill out, and we just really, in reviewing those who might be interested in serving, we're looking for a cross-section of our community, people with varying experiences, and also representing each kind of neighborhood of our district. Yeah, you're welcome.
Great. Mrs. Pappas.
I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for all of their hard work. I have been part of many organizations that have had strategic plans, and they have never been executed quite as faithfully as they have here. So I really appreciate that, where we can really see every step and, you know, where we are. And I just appreciate that. So thank you.
Ms. Stone?
Building off of that, so I'll get to more of why I've been particularly reflective and kind of thinking a lot about, you know, history when I get to the good and welfare part of the meeting, or we get to the good and welfare part of the meeting. So more on that later. But as I was reading this in preparation for the board meeting, I was, you know, impressed with all of the micro pieces of information, but I started thinking more on a macro level. And as far as like strategic planning process in the district goes, so I ran for the board more than 6 years ago. I had watched eight years of board meetings before I ran, and it was not done like this before. I'm sitting in Lisa's old seats. I feel like I'm channeling Lisa when she used to say, we didn't, I know I really am. And I think I'm serving on her former committees as well, like to it, like, yeah, anyway. But, you know, we really didn't have a strategic plan the way that we do now. And I think, you know, I was thinking about like this one we're doing now is, we're like, you know, closer to the end than we are to the beginning of it. We only have 1 year left. We're in the home stretch. And I'm just thankful for the amount of work that everybody's doing to complete those goals. It was really edifying to look through the list and see all the completed and the ones that are ongoing, you know, that you're working on. I trust the process that you're using to make things better and to engage, empower, and inspire the students. And, you know, I think you're also very vulnerable in the data that you're showing. And there's some of them, you know, we're not meeting the goals yet, but I trust the process that we're on our way. I mean, I just think of as one micro example, the clubs at the junior high and Highcrest to try to increase that sense of belonging. I mean, I was like, I don't want to tell my college son that there's a sports analytics club at the junior high or at the whatever. And he was like, oh, you know, whatever. Anyway, I mean, anyway, so I just really appreciate the hard work that everybody's doing to keep this process going towards engaging and empowering and inspiring students. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
I'll add one more thing, and it really is just kind of a look back as well, Erin. I think that when we started this planning process 4 years ago, we weren't quite sure exactly what this is going to look like and how it was going to unfold. And I'm really proud of the work that has been accomplished and the fact that we were able to accomplish so much coming out of a really tumultuous time and building a new system of monitoring and reporting as we were kind of flying the plane. Katie has helped tremendously with that. So I'd like to acknowledge Katie for her leadership in that regard. She has kept us moving when sometimes there was like the daily operational stuff that can distract us. Katie kept our eye on that kind of end goal and helped us to remain organized and focused to get there. So thank you, Katie, for your leadership in that.
Okay, I think we're moving on to the state bullying report.
Absolutely. This is an annual report that the state requires of us, and we're so fortunate to have Dr. Swanson to monitor this for us and report on it annually.
So yes, every year we are required to report on the number of instances of alleged bullying and investigations that we did. And I want to just reiterate that all of our administrators take reports of bullying extremely seriously. Everything is investigated. Many of the situations do not rise to what the state definition of bullying is, but everything is investigated and we address all of the instances. The goal for our administrators and our teachers is to really teach our children how to behave, to help them navigate social interactions. So we do have a lot of restorative opportunities. We have a lot of research papers children do if they've engaged in behavior that is unkind or hurtful to others. We do at times use suspension or other discipline techniques if that is required, but the whole goal is for our students to learn how to engage with one another in an appropriate way and to be kind and respectful to one another. We also do a lot in terms of our proactive supports. So as Kelly talked earlier about our social emotional curriculum, we have Wayfinder at the 5-8 level, and we have everyday speech at the preschool through 4th grade level. We use those as proactive teaching tools. We monitor how our students are feeling in the areas of belonging as well as bullying as part of our the MESH and our CSCI reports. We have identified that we need continued work on helping our students be upstanders and to really address teasing. There is teasing. These are children. They are learning how to interact with one another, and we are continuing to address those areas with our students. This year, we did 29 bullying investigations, and that involves really interviewing a variety of different people in order to make a determination about whether the situation was bullying or not. We had one that was founded, but again, that doesn't mean that there weren't consequences, as well as different ways of teaching our students for the other 28 in which we did investigations. And that doesn't even account all of the number of situations that are addressed on a daily basis. We are working with children who are learning to engage with one another, to interact proactively, and oftentimes don't have the greatest models in the political discourse that they see these days. So we spend a lot of time teaching our children how to interact with one another appropriately. Does anybody have any questions?
I was just wondering, could you explain sort of some of the numbers related to reporting? Like I saw that, I think it was called Safe to Help. That's how the reporting is made, or like, can a kid just go to a teacher and say?
A student can absolutely go to a teacher and say there's bullying. We have teachers that sometimes report. We have parents who report. Safe to Help is on all of their devices. And you want to talk a little bit, Tony? Just
very briefly.
Yeah.
Safe to Help Illinois is a statewide tip line. One of the actually wonderful things that the state of Illinois has done, which nobody's heard of. And it's available to any public and private school. And there's a text code, there's an email, there's a chat, and there's an app that we were part of the pilot district to help develop and give feedback on, but it's on iPads 3rd grade and up. So a student can open that up and make a report. It goes to at least 5 of us here in the district, and we respond. And that could be during the day, and we've had some severe reports, not bullying, but others that have come through after hours. And on occasion, it's gone straight to the Wilmette Police Department for a well-being check. So the point being is, in addition to adults that they can trust, in addition to the Hawks form and the Wolves form, they have Safe to Help Illinois. They have multiple channels to get help.
Yes.
And is that a child that's having trouble, they're reporting it for themselves? Or if you see someone that's having trouble, do you report it that way as well?
It can be anything. And it can be related to bullying. It can be related to mental health concerns for themselves or for other people. We get a wide variety of reports.
So then my second question is, I see that there were 29 reports this year and only 17 last year. Is that, do you think that that's because there's been more training or education for the kids for how to report or what to report? I mean, there's only one founded. Last year there were, 17 reports and 7 were founded this year.
Right. I do think that our students and parents are more, they're quicker to report when there are concerns, either on behalf of themselves or their peers. And there are absolutely, we do investigations. Again, not everything, there are lots of things that are called bullying that with a simple conversation with a child or with a parent, it's clear that it's a social conflict. It's not really, so we don't do a full bullying investigation. But I think that there is a lot more reporting of it. And I'm glad to say that we're lower, but that doesn't mean that next year there couldn't be some other, it's kind of an up and down thing dependent on what the different groups of students are and who's with one another.
Okay, thank you. That's really helpful.
I guess one question to add to that is where I saw a real change was in the elementary schools. Again, they weren't founded, but they were reported, and we hadn't really seen that in the elementary schools previously. So it just made me think, is that reflective of seeing more social conflict in the elementary schools, or is it just, awareness around reporting this type of conflict?
I think it's more awareness around reporting. I think that there have traditionally been lots of things that aren't necessarily identified as potential bullying in the past. And I think that that our teachers, our children, and our parents are all a little bit more alert to what could be bullying. And I think that we are all taking it very seriously.
Thank you.
We have up next then, if there aren't any more questions on that topic, we have the two tentative budgets that Corey has reviewed with the board already, and I'll let you give a quick overview and answer any questions that the board might have.
Okay. So our annual budget process, particularly on the D39 side of it, involves multiple steps each year. So tonight we're kind of in our second step. You know, last month we did a more detailed review where we looked at some very specific larger items or impactful items on the budget at the May Committee of the Whole. Tonight, because we're asking the board to take action, which is approving the tentative budget and then also setting that public hearing date, we're going to highlight some of the higher level items during this presentation. August, then when we come back and get ready to gear up for a new school year, the board reviews any changes, and then they vote at the August Board of Education meeting to approve the budget. All right. So the first area we want to look at is our capital projects fund. This is where we spend our large, usually seven-figure, you know, $1 to say $3 or $4 million summer projects like we just started at the junior high. So for this budget, we have at the junior high, we have the first floor AC renovations, and then slated for next summer is the window replacement project, plus some potential alternates that, depending upon how bidding goes, we could add into the fold. Our debt service fund, the function of that fund is to make principal and interest payments on our outstanding bond issues. There are currently two bond issues that are repaid from the tax levy. And then there are two debt certificate issuances, which are paid from operating funds. Those total $3.2 million for next year. Down on the bottom of this slide, we see the $1 million transfer from operations and maintenance to the debt service. That is representative of the transfer of operating funds to cover principal and interest payments. And then the 3.4 is to cover the capital projects that we do during the summer. Okay, so those previous two slides, if you look at the bottom of this one, those were two of our main non-operating funds. They have very specific purposes, and the things that go in and out of those funds are not at the core of our operations and the core of our financial discussions regularly here at board and committee of the whole meetings. But we do have 6 funds that comprise the operating funds. And I'll just describe a little bit of what's in each one of them. The educational fund, that's the majority of the activity. That's our that's our in-building teaching staff that are in the classroom, our front office staff, food service. So a lot of any educational programs, all the expenses related to that, those are in there. We have some operational, optional programs such as our lunch program and some of our extracurriculars, where there's a fee associated with it, where not every student is participating, and on some level the board is subsidizing a portion of those operations. Then we have the operations and maintenance fund. Main things that are being spent out of that fund: maintenance and custodial staffing. We also have all of our utilities, water, electricity, natural gas. And then we also do some smaller capital projects, that don't necessarily require the expertise of an architectural team or our engineers. Those are paid out of there. Then we have the transportation fund. The transportation fund, two primary types of expenditures. We have our regular transportation, and then we have our special ed. The special ed transportation is the students who qualify, and then the district is required to transport them, whether that's locally from their home residence to one of our buildings, or it could be to an outplaced facility. Those transportation expenditures in the following fiscal year, they've historically been reimbursed by the state of Illinois Currently, we're looking at about a 55 to 60% reimbursement. It used to be 80%. The other program that's within that fund is our regular transportation program. One of the things that makes that maybe a little unique compared to many of the other school districts in Illinois is that it's here in D39, that's an optional program. We're not required or obligated to provide regular transportation services. And the board has decided to offer this program, it is offset by a couple of things. The first thing is a very, very small reimbursement from the Illinois State Board of Education. This program costs roughly $1 million a year. We get about $4,000 or $5,000 in reimbursement from ISB because of the program is optional. It's not required. The majority of it is funded through user fees, and while the last handful of years, the transportation industry has seen some pretty significant increases in operational cost. That has also coincided with increase in our per student charge, which has now exceeded just over 1,000 round trip for a school year. And so we do recognize that is, it has risen quickly. The other side to that is the board is subsidizing roughly 19 to 20% for the upcoming school year. So, and that is with roughly about 30% of our student population using that service. You have the IMRF, or Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund. There's 3 expenditures that flow through there. The employer expense for IMRF eligible employees, and then Social Security and Medicare expenditures. Working cash is a fund, as it implies. It's a place for school districts to have some working cash reserves that can be loaned from the working cash fund to other funds. It does not have any annual expenditures. And then the tort fund is where we pay our liability insurance premiums for D39, and then also our annual workers' comp policy. The operating funds at a high level, we're looking at just over 80 million in revenues, 78 for expenditures. So I've bolded the projected surplus. That's the first kind of line item that I look at once I pull together budget information. We're looking at 1.77 for that surplus. But then we consider, okay, what are we transferring out, or more of like sometimes one-time uses on the construction side, and then with our debt certificates, that's a more annual use, but we usually commit about 10 years at a time to those debt certificates. So that puts us at a planned deficit of 2.69 million for fiscal year 26. And when we put it all together, we're still above our 40% target and we're coming in at 41.86% for next year. This graph shows 3 years of actual, the current year that we're about to end, and then next year, revenues versus expenditures for the operating funds. Here is a graph that when we look back, we can see where we were with our operating fund balance. We had some years we were up around 70, and then we had some planned large capital expenditures and initiatives that we were able to undertake and complete. And now for the last few years, we're in that low 50% range, approaching potentially upper 40s. And then depending upon how things shake out as we wind down fiscal year 25 and into fiscal year 26, looking at something in the 40%. So as it relates to the D39 budget, that is the end of the presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I know we're all pretty familiar with it at this point. We've gone through it quite a few times. So thank you very much for that, Erin.
Just one quick comment. You're talking about large capital expenditures. It made me very happy to see first floor air conditioning at the junior high as part of that presentation, because that's the end of it, right? I mean, every classroom will be air conditioned by the end of the summer, right?
Yep, that's the last, say 12 or 13 classrooms within the district. And unlike some of the prior years where we had some significant delays, the equipment's been in storage for several months now. So The expectation is that when school and staff start to arrive in August, that the entire building will be ready to go.
Yep. Thank you.
That is great. We won't be looking for chillers around the, I remember when that was the issue for a couple of years there. So this is great. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So the next several items are mine as well. So District 39 is a member of WICSE with Avoca School District. Similar to our D39 budget, we're asking the board to approve this tentative budget. It's $234,000 in revenue and expenditures in the fiscal year 26 budget, but also to set that public hearing for that August evening board meeting date. Similar process on to the D39 budget, although this budget is much smaller and much simpler, which is very few transactions each fiscal year. Okay. All right. So then the next few items are kind of procedural in nature, and that we do them every June. I serve as the D39 treasurer, and as such, the district is required to have a treasurer's bond, and the board annually approves that treasurer's bond. I believe we've set it at $5.5 million for next year. Then we have a July accounts payable invoices resolution. We undertake this step each month throughout the year. We have a board meeting where we report any checks that the district has written to the board from the prior meeting. The only month we don't have a scheduled meeting is the month of July. We ask the board to pass a resolution, allows us to continue to make payments throughout the summer. And then we report everything that occurred in that 2+ month window at our August board meeting. The budget resolutions line item, 2 items in there. One is required. As I previously noted, annually we transfer money from our operations and maintenance fund to our capital projects fund for those large construction projects. Annually, we ask the board to pass the resolution to give us authority to do that, even though we have to do it. Then the other item is more precautionary and a historical practice here is we're asking for the board to approve a resolution to authorize a loan from the educational fund to the operations and maintenance fund. Should that fund at any point next year go negative and we would need to temporarily loan money, that could happen because that fund transfers money to the capital projects. Those are large expenditures. They skew towards the beginning of the year to cover the vast majority of the expenditures from this summer's construction project. If we were to have significant delays in the second installment property taxes, there could be a need. While there has been rumors of a delay this upcoming summer with that second installment, I'm hopeful that it's not so late that we would need to actually enact that loan. But it is something that we've had in the past. Any questions about any of those resolutions before I talk about the special ed contract? Okay. All right. So tonight we're recommending that the board approve a 3-year contract extension with North Shore Transit for special education transportation services. The 3-year contract would see our fees increase 4.5%, 4.25, and then 4 for the last year, or CPI for that year if higher. For reference, the last 2 renewal years that we've had with North Shore, as I mentioned, the operational cost for certain things coming out of COVID have been quite high. North Shore, our renewal 2 years ago for special ed was 10.5%. Last year it was 7%. So we have seen things start to normalize on both the regular and special ed side. So the recommendation is for us to approve that contract with them. They've provided quality service and been there for us day in, day out. Does anyone have any questions related to that agenda item? Okay. Then the last item is the Harper Playground donation agreement. Each time that we've been fortunate to have one of our PTAs raise enough money to either enhance or replace a playground, we've formalized that donation with an agreement between the PTA and the Board of Education. It's really just a recognition that the PTA does agree that they are donating it to D39 and that it becomes D39 property upon completion. Since the direct contractual relationship for the project is between the installer and the Harper PTA. This is similar to ones that we have done previously at other elementary schools. That's all I have for tonight.
Thank you. That will lead to a very busy consent agenda this evening. Thank you very much. Okay, we are moving on to board policy review.
Dr. Glowacki has just a couple of quick updates.
There were no real changes. There was some typos that were fixed from the first reading. Otherwise, it remains as it was presented last month.
Any other comments, board members? Right. All right. This is the second opportunity for the audience to address the board this evening. Are there any audience members that would like to speak at this time? Please come up. If you could again state your name.
I just have a quick question. You had mentioned that there was no Freedom of Information Act request, but there was one sent to Corey on June 4th at 9:23 a.m. I'm not sure what needs to be done now, but there was one sent.
So we don't typically respond during public comments, but what we report is once they are responded to, then it gets reported in the board meeting. And so once that is responded to, then it would be reported. Sorry,
could you? Sorry.
Thanks.
I just want to reiterate, I know I went quick and I didn't even know I was going to be speaking on this until dinner time tonight, but I just think that the data, I didn't have a chance, and this is not the forum to get into the specifics, but I would challenge each of you to go to peer-reviewed research, not from 20 years ago when we were going down this path, but recent research. And it clearly shows that there's an inverse relationship between screen time and academic performance. The other thing I would challenge everybody in the room to think about is when we talk about the success of this district, and you're measuring the success on a relative basis to national averages that have been dropping significantly. It should force everybody in here to think about that because we live in an absolute world, not a relative world. So I would challenge each of you to think about whether it's NAEP, whether it's MAPS, go back 10, 15 years ago and look at measurements of academic success on math and reading. And yes, we're doing better on a relative basis, but 10 years ago or 15 years ago, I mean, I was just looking at, I was doing some research as I was sitting here, and again, the evidence is overwhelming. So ask yourself the question, why is it that the national averages are dropping? Again, I think it's great that we're doing better. That's great.
Thank you. I'm sorry that.
But yeah, smoking gun, I think is great.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Okay. And just as a reminder, if you did talk earlier this evening, it's just 1 minute during a second.
It's just one question.
Okay.
Thank you. My name is Mary Movington. I just do have one question regarding the strategic plan. Does it say anywhere in there that iPad or technology plays a huge role in teaching the students?
Thank you. Any other comments? All right. Okay, at this point, we're going to move on with our consent agenda. Are there any items that the board would like pulled from the consent agenda this evening? All right, Mrs. Pathless, please proceed with the motions.
Okay. All right. I move to approve the personnel report dated June 9th, 2025. I move to approve as second and final reading of Board of Education policies 2:260 uniform grievance procedure and 5:20 workplace harassment prohibited. I move to approve the fiscal year 2026 tentative budget as contained in this report for immediate public display. And further, I move to approve the publication of notice of a public hearing on the tentative budget to be held at 7 p.m. prior to commencing the regularly scheduled Board of Education meeting on Monday, August 25th, 2025. I move to approve the Wilmette Community Special Education Agreement fiscal year 2026 tentative budget as contained in this report for immediate public display. And further, I move to approve the announcement of a public hearing on the tentative budget to be held at 7 p.m. prior to commencing the regularly scheduled Board of Education meeting on Monday, August 25th, 2025. I move to approve the renewal of the State of Illinois School District Treasurer Bond in the amount of $5,500,000 for fiscal year 2026. I move to approve the attached resolutions authorizing accounting transfers from the Operations and Maintenance Fund to the Capital Projects Fund. And I move to approve the attached resolution authorizing an interfund loan from the Educational Fund to the Operations and Maintenance Fund. I move to approve the attached resolutions authorizing accounting transfers from the Operations and Maintenance Fund to the Capital Projects Fund. And I move to approve the attached resolution authorizing an interfund loan from the Educational Fund to the Operations and Maintenance Fund. I move to approve the special education transportation contract extension with North Shore Transit for 3 years covering the 2025-2026, the 2026-2027, and the 2027-2028 school years to provide special education transportation services. I move to approve a donation agreement between Harper Elementary School PTA and the Wilmette Public Schools District 39 Board of Education. I move to approve the attached resolution authorizing payment for goods and services between now and the next board meeting scheduled for August 25th, 2025. I move to approve the accounts payable for bills listed between May 20th, 2025 and June 9th, 2025 in the following amounts. Educational Fund, $222,016.47. O&M Fund, $88,855.79. Transportation, $1,664.98. Capital Projects, $43,318. Torts, $9,660.19. Total all funds, $365,515.43. And I moved the manual checks issued between May 20th, 2025 and June 9th, 2025 in the following amounts. Educational Fund, $261,576.78. O&M Fund, $52,427.88. Transportation, $129,471.80. Capital Projects, $24,684.00. Total all funds, $468,160.46.
May I have a second?
Second.
The motion has been moved and seconded. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Amy Paling? Yes. Katie Hilton?
Yes.
Judy Berlin?
Yes.
Ann Hart?
Yes.
Kristen DeCastro?
Yes.
Allison Pavlis?
Yes.
Aaron Stone?
Yes.
Motion carries. We will now move on to conference items. Is there any old business tonight? Is there any new business?
I will just mention for those who might still be in attendance, because we did have a lot of parents who were here, and it was great to have the engagement. As we talk about our strategic plan and we think forward to the action steps for next year, there's 2 elements I want to point out. One is that annually we develop our action steps based on the goals that have been prescribed by the board and by our community in the last strategic planning effort. And so we take feedback and we design the work that we will focus on next year based on the progress we've made so far, and then kind of what those next steps might be. So as we think about some of the feedback we've received this evening and some of the work that's been accomplished in our report this evening, the administrative team will use that to begin to develop the action steps for next year. So I know that sometimes there are community members who want us to make very quick changes in a district such as ours. Sometimes that can be difficult, but doing some research and investigating some of those small steps towards progress do make a really big difference. And so we appreciate the feedback that we've received this evening. And I encourage everyone to stay tuned as we do some action planning for next year. The other thing I want to mention is that we are entering the final year of this 5-year strategic plan. So the place we were 5 years ago with regard to our vision and goals and the outcomes we were trying to achieve might look different than they will when we go back out to our community in January of next year to hear what some of those priorities are now for the next 3 to 5 years. And so I would encourage everyone, as you think about and as you look forward to this next strategic planning process, there will be an opportunity for input from the broader community, from our teachers, from our administrators, from our parents, from those who are within our community who maybe don't have children in our schools. And we hope that people will engage with us in that process, because that does really help us to know what those priorities are and how best to plan for the future. So there's the short-term planning for next year, and then there's the long-term planning, which we're actually at a really key point in our district's kind of future planning as we look ahead toward the next 3 to 5 year strategic plan that will be developed throughout next year, and in particular January through March of next year, where we will really be looking for some of this feedback and input. So I know there was a lot of engagement, and I thought this might be a nice time to just kind of give a big overview of kind of what that future planning looks like from here forward.
Thank you. All right, good and welfare. Amy.
I'll start off just by saying that Erin and I both went to the Nutrier Food Pantry. We were all invited as elected officials, and that was just a really great experience. Encourage you all to check out the incredible, thoughtful resources that they have. That was a really great event. Excuse me. Okay, and then I just would like to add my personal appreciation to Katie Lee. It's really hard to imagine coming back in August and not having you sit at this table. I can't really picture it. As a board member, I just want to tell you how much it has meant to have your extensive expertise and dedication to putting what's best for kids front and center, and bringing in so many stakeholder voices in every conversation we've had. And in my very little portion of your history, we have worked on some big things. So I've sat with you on the COVID reopening team, the strategic planning, diversity and equity subcommittee, and so many more. And the way you go about welcoming every voice, being so patient with our many, many questions. We don't understand the acronyms and the history, and you just normalize and explain what we need to know to help us make the best decisions in a way that is unparalleled. I also think that, we were talking about the strategic plan so much tonight, and you really have had such a large part in fostering a transparent culture. And that is not always the case in any organization and in schools. It's risky and vulnerable, as Erin said, to set really lofty goals and go after them with everything we have and put it out there for the whole community. I think it is the best model for our students we could possibly ask for, in addition to driving success for our students. So I am going to miss your warmth and your help and your expertise, and your impact will be felt in D39 for generations. Thank you.
I just don't want to go after Aaron.
Nobody wants to go after Aaron.
It's not a competition. I've said it before.
No, it's like just because I want to soak in your words
that's kind.
after you're done.
Thank you.
Anyway, Katie, I just wanted to add my my heartfelt thank you for your 33 years of service to D39. Your tenure obviously has been magnificent and impressive, and you've had a huge impact. And we see that as the board every time, every meeting. We see sort of the things that you work on are sort of these big institutional curriculum and teaching changes. But what really struck me last month when the Reflections celebration happened, and they showed the video of your former student who, I don't know how many of you saw that, but if you haven't, you should go and check it out. It's amazing. But what really struck me at that point was watching that video, and it's with a former student who's now an adult, or almost an adult, right? I don't know.
4 years old.
Yeah, she's an adult. Who Katie recognized and went up to and helped and talked to on I think an outdoor ed trip, right? Katie basically told the girl, now the woman, that she was resilient, that she was valued, and that you had her back. And it was that with that video that I think I really realized what makes you, sorry, I'm kind of getting teared up, that video, I'm telling you. What makes you great at your job, obviously as a teacher, was clear in that video, but what makes you great at your job as an administrator is that you carry that with you, right? Like, who you care about are the students. And I just want to thank you on behalf of all the kids at D39, my kids too. You've made a huge impact, and I just really appreciate it as a parent and as a member of the board, and just as a member of the community. So thank you. I have your back. I know you have my back and everyone else's back, but also I just wanted to just say, I hope you have a really restful and rewarding retirement, that you have lots of late starts. You don't have to.
That one I can guarantee.
Yeah, you don't have to, listen to your alarm clock go off. And I hope that you have mini sumo oranges in your future. I know we share that as our fruit of choice.
Every single time.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much, Katie.
Thank you. Oh. No, really, we cannot. Seriously.
Okay, go ahead, Amy.
Okay, so based on Katie's impending retirement and a number of things that happened at the end of last week, I've been thinking a lot about endings. And hopefully I can say this without crying. So graduation on Thursday, and just their transition to New Trier or Loyola or wherever they're going. And then my school year where I teach ended on Tuesday. So Summer Erin has the ability to go run a whole ton of errands in the morning. And I was making the rounds on Friday, which was the last day of school, and I was on my way to Millens. And I saw a boy in my old neighborhood walking to Mackenzie carrying a gift bag. So I'm thinking he's giving something to his teacher because it's the last day of school. And he is going to present his teacher with some sort of gift. And I'm like, wonder what's in the bag anyway. And then Dr. Cremascoli sent us in the communication on Friday the 10 videos for the trip down memory lane for all of the high crest farewells that the creative arts teachers do. The first one I realized, was my daughter's 6th grade year. So she would have been transitioning out of Highcrest that year. She's finishing her junior year in college. She just finished her junior year in college. That was Kelly Jackson's first year at Highcrest, was her finishing that year. Watching those videos was a hoot and a holler. I mean, like in one of them, Shamil Tillery, who used to be Shamil Dillard, who was our 6th grade GLAD, is in one of them holding the microphone. And she is now about to replace Dr. Tragos at New Trier, because she's been working at New Trier since she left us. And now he's going to be the superintendent because Paul Sally's retiring. And all these people are like ending things and moving on to other things. And it's fantastic. So that gets me to Katie. And as she winds down her career and enjoys her ending in District 39, your work on behalf of children in so many different ways has been thoughtful and impactful. What you have done matters. Don't ever forget it. Your time here might be ending, but your impact is not. It will endure, like Amy said, for generations. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll just quickly add to that, but I do have to say that I watched the videos, and I also unfortunately was not able to attend Reflections this year, but I watched a video of Reflections also, and there's a lot of talent, musical talent. You know, I think it was maybe a Sound of Music remake from Reflections. So just a lot of talent all around in this district that I wasn't aware of. Okay, so Katie, it's bittersweet. We're so excited for you in this next chapter and to see what where this leads, but you will be missed dearly. And I just wanted to say that I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to work with you in your last 4 of your 33-year-long run here at District 39. And you obviously have so much knowledge as both a teacher and an administrator that you bring to the table all of the time. But I wanted to just let you know that I appreciate your willingness to patiently educate and to share your knowledge and perspective. You always have a very calm, positive way of explaining the material and providing background and answering questions, and sometimes answering questions that you have already provided the answers to in just a very friendly, positive way. And you're just a very steady source of knowledge and continued commitment to this district. And commitment to improvement. And then I just also wanted to mention your ability to collaborate and really create a collaborative environment, whether it's with teachers that you are consistently championing for, or on the CRC or the DSAT, any other time, or in board meetings, you're engaged, you're supportive, you're always willing to help and to share your time and your expertise. Thank you. So as stated, your impact will continue to be valued for many, many years, and that will start with next fall as students walk through the doors of full day kindergarten. So thank you very much and good luck.
Thank you so much. That's very kind.
And I think we have a couple more people who want to speak. I just want to give you some flowers on behalf of the board.
Okay. Hi, Katie. Hi. Cindy Anderson, principal of Ramona, and Becky Littman, principal of Central. We're representing all of the principals. So good evening. It's both an honor and a privilege for us to stand before you tonight on behalf of all of the principals as we celebrate the remarkable career of our dear friend, trusted colleague and mentor, Katie Lee, as she embarks on her well-deserved retirement after a lifetime of service to District 39.
Ah, Katie, for those of us lucky enough to have worked alongside you over the years, your impact has been profound and lasting. Cindy and I have had the joy of working with you at Highcrest Middle School back when the 3 of us were still navigating classrooms before stepping into leadership roles.
Even then, your passion for education and your incredible insight stood out.
From those early days to your role as curriculum director, your leadership has been nothing short of exceptional. You bring brilliance to every conversation, yet always lead with warmth and humor, reminding us to laugh even during the most challenging times. Your door is always open and your phone always answered. You've been a steady presence, someone we've relied on to think through the messy, the complex, and the uncertain.
Your ability to find the perfect fit for our district is a gift, and your legacy is woven into the fabric of our schools through every teacher you've helped bring on board. Your mentorship has guided us through curriculum shifts, policy changes, and those countless moments when we needed someone to help us see the path forward. You have always shown up with clarity, compassion, and grace.
Katie, your dedication to District 39 has shaped not only what our students learn, but how they learn. You've poured your heart into this work, always asking what's best for kids, and the answer has often been found in your steady hand and wise counsel.
So tonight, on behalf of all the principals, the teachers you've empowered, and the students whose lives you've quietly and powerfully transformed, thank you. Thank you for your leadership, your laughter, your vision, and your friendship. You've made District 39 better in every possible way. Congratulations, Katie.
Oh my goodness. Oh, these are beautiful. Hey, any other good and welfare? I don't think anyone dares to go after that. Thank you again, Katie, so very much. Good luck. We will now, may I have a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss specific personnel, special education, individual student matters, and collective negotiations.
I move to adjourn to executive session to discuss specific personnel, special education, individual student matters, and collective negotiations.
May I have a second?
Second.
Motion having been made and seconded, will the clerk please call the roll?
Kristen Castro.
Yes.
Allison Pavlis.
Yes.
Amy Paling.
Yes.
Katie Hilton.
Yes.
Judy Berlin.
Yes.
Ann Hart.
Yes.
Aaron Stone.
Yes.
Motion carries. We are now adjourned to executive session and the time is 9:18 p.m.